Welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck. It is Friday, the last Friday of the month, too. I can't believe how fast this month actually went.
Oh, I know, the month. But the week has been so long. This has been the longest week of my life. I don't know why.
I just feel like I had to cram so much into it.
Maybe.
Right? Oh, yeah, it's been crazy. You know, we've had 40 below, we've had 40 above. You know, it's like 80 degree difference in a span of a few days.
Yeah, crazy.
And so we're glad that this month is over, which kind of reminds me, you know, they talked about the 14-day curve, or to flatten the curve. That was about, we're coming up on a year now to flatten that curve.
Anniversary.
Yeah, so it's the anniversary of the flatten the curve. So if you stayed in for 14 days, I think you can get out now. So anyway, welcome to Ladies of Another View. I'm Mary, and of course we have Jan and Kendi, and we have our guest co-host from Florida with us today, Andrea. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There she is. And then we have an in-studio guest, Dr. Steve Nagel. And this is his, thank you, Steve Nagel, reporting so formal. And so we're going to have a fun day today. Fridays are always fun.
Yes,
and
they are.
People have plans for the weekend and whatnot. But we've had Steve on before, and he's pretty up on the COVID distraction. Let's call it a distraction.
Yes.
Great.
Isn't that?
I do like that. That's a good word.
A good
Pretty
word
much
for
what
it?
it is.
Yeah.
It is, this COVID distraction that's coming into our lives. And he's going to talk a little bit about the comorbidities that go along with COVID. So we'll just jump right into it. You're saying that diabetes is...
Just like you said, we've been in this for 12 months now, right? And the only thing we've had to talk about is the virus itself, right? When at some point, we got to start talking about the health of the host, right?
Sure,
Even though it's been, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, we should have been talking about that right away. But here we are 12 months later and no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
And so when we look at these comorbidities, the highest two comorbidities are diabetes and obesity.
And those two go hand in hand anyway.
They very much go hand in hand for sure. And even what the practice of medicine would consider to be a well-managed diabetic, they're still very susceptible, and it makes sense once you understand the physiology of it all. And until we actually take a step back and start to address how we as a society are approaching type 2 diabetes and obesity, any virus makes us susceptible to having problems.
Sure.
So I have a question, just to clarify for people
Yes.
who may not know terminology.
Yes.
How would you describe a comorbidity?
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
So basically looking at what will lead that person to being more susceptible or more susceptible to dying from comorbidity, what means other factors that actually ended up killing that person.
Okay.
Right? And so that's where we look at most people handle COVID very well. However, there is those few people that tend to not handle it very well. And the majority of those people are what we consider to be insulin resistant, right? And so there is the underlying process behind diabetes and obesity is insulin resistance. And once we understand the role of insulin in the body, it makes very much sense why these people are more susceptible, and yet we don't hear anybody talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I want you to tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers what they need to know about
insulin resistance.
Yes.
Right? So insulin resistance is a process in the body, and we think about insulin as a hormone. It's a hormone in the body that our hunters and gatherers, if we think about how our hunters and gatherers used to live, it is a fat storage hormone, right? It stores energy, or I should say an energy storage hormone, right? It allows us to, when we have plenty of food available, to store that energy because we don't know when our next meal was, right? We may have to go a day without eating, we may have to go 2 weeks without eating. Insulin triggers the body to actually store that energy for later. And then when we don't have food, insulin levels drop, and then it triggers your body to actually start to utilize energy or utilize that stored excess energy as fuel. Whether it's in the liver, whether it's in fat tissue, you name it, it utilizes that. It allows you to utilize that for energy. What's happened though in first world countries, particularly the United States, where 40% of us are either diabetic or pre-diabetic, but 90% don't know it. What's happened in America is we tend to live a lifestyle that's very much not conducive to normal insulin function. And so what happens is we become insulin resistant. specifically and specifically how that affects people for our immune system function. Sugar itself, right? So when we have this energy, which is typically in the form of processed sugars, carbs, and when we talk about carbs, right, we're talking about breads, we're talking about flour-based pastas, cereals, all these things.
All the good stuff.
Skim milk, right?
Not
Orange
potatoes.
juice.
Or are you?
Potatoes, correct.
Okay.
So not just straight up sugar,
Sure.
but foods that we're actually generally taught as the food pyramid that they were good for us, that in excess can cause a lot of very serious problems. So what happens is when we have these extra foods, your blood sugar start to come up, and your body has to use insulin to bring those blood sugars down again. And it does that. It either stores it, puts it into your cells, or it puts it into your liver or as fat tissue. Why that's relevant for people with coronavirus or with any viral infection, sugar actually competes for vitamin C to get inside your cells. So if we have elevated blood sugar levels or we have too much carbohydrates in our diet, it's really hard for your body to use vitamin C. Vitamin D, we always hear in the news, right? That vitamin D has huge implications on how the immune system works. But the higher your insulin levels, the lower your vitamin D levels are going to be. And so 6 out of 7 Americans are actually severely deficient in vitamin D.
So then if you increased your vitamin D, would your own body make more insulin?
No,
Or
not
how does that work?
necessarily. No, the higher your insulin levels, it makes it harder for your vitamin D levels to actually come up.
Okay.
Or to actually be adequate. So it takes more and more of that hormone. Vitamin D is technically a hormone to actually function in your body, to get those levels to where they should be.
And North Dakotans are naturally low on vitamin D because of the lack of sunshine, and that's about the
Yes.
only way you can get it?
Well, no, you can get it through foods like your salmon and different fish, things
Okay,
like
the
that.
omegas.
There are other sources. However, even generally speaking across the country, most people are very low. Many people have absorption issues if your digestive health isn't what it should be, or storage, how your body's storing it. And so the health of your liver is really important in how we store that nutrient, right? Not only that, but when we look at insulin, when we talk about insulin resistance, right? Insulin resistance has a profound effect. Insulin itself, as the hormone, actually has very important implications in how your immune system works. That T helper response that we've all heard about, right? When we become insulin resistant, what happens is your cells can no longer use that. Just like it can't use insulin or sugar like it's supposed to, your cells can't utilize that T response like it should.
Okay, so we have 1 minute left of this very first
Yeah.
segment. It always goes fast. But you had brought up the vitamin C, and I know that people are just selling vitamin C gummies, like by the bottle full. And there's more sugar in those gummies than there is the vitamin itself, isn't there? I mean,
Kinda defeats the
what would
Yeah.
you recommend?
Well, first we'd recommend reversing that insulin resistance, right? And that's something we're really good at, right? And secondly, getting a good source of quality vitamin C. Liposomal is probably the best source, which means you absorb it through your mucosal membranes. But there's many ways to get really good vitamin C. There's some different superfoods that can be very effective in bringing up your vitamin C levels.
Okay, well, we're going to catch up and we're going to get the rest of that information after these messages. We have to take a quick break on Ladies of Another View on Back.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We were visiting with Dr. Steve Nagel before the break about diabetes and about insulin and about COVID and about the flattening of the curve. But you know, yes. Reducing sugar would flatten a lot of curves,
yes,
wouldn't it?
Would.
Hey, good point.
True that.
We're all about flattening the curves, okay? Yes. So anyway, we were talking about vitamin C and vitamin D. Mm-hmm. Just pick up where you left off if you can.
Okay. Well, I think a really good thing to help people to understand even how this process happens. Like I said, 90% of people that are insulin resistant don't even know it. So I think people help it if we can help the people.
I don't want to interrupt.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'll forget my question. What are some of the symptoms of, say, just us three gals sitting here? If we were insulin resistant, what would we feel?
Yes, you would feel unexplained weight gain, right? And so a lot of times you'll hear people, well, when I work out, I can lose weight, and then that ability started to get less and less, right? Or when winter time comes, like a lot of people will say, in the winter time I put weight on, summertime that comes off, and then they say it gets harder and harder for that to come off, right? Unexplained weight gain or weight that's really stubborn coming off, brain fog, fatigue, joint inflammation. A lot of the same lifestyle factors that create insulin resistance also creates other problems.
Sure.
And so those are a lot of the things that people will end up tending to start to develop before their blood sugars even start to come up, their insulin levels are already going up.
So can I say something about that? So I had got tested in the clinic with Dr. Nagel, and really interesting because I had those symptoms. Like, I could not lose weight. I exercised all the time. I ate well. But there were these 20 pounds that were just super stubborn. And when the results came in, my insulin levels were high, and I was shocked.
Right. Most of us have no idea.
Yeah, I was shocked.
And even the medical norms are shockingly just out of what they should be, right?
Sure.
And just like vitamin D, if someone's told their vitamin D levels are adequate, what the research shows is you need at least 60 to 100, about 60 to have adequate. Otherwise, we start to increase the chronic problems, everything from poor immune system to cancer to brain fog, fatigue. But the medical norms are at about 30, right? So they consider anything above 30 to be good enough, right? And that's when we start to look at what's a functional number and what's the medical norms. So insulin resistance, I think a good analogy has to do with we can use alcohol as an example.
I'd love to.
Yes. So the first time you ever drank alcohol.
Do you have samples?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I thought you guys had it.
No, that's Rick's show.
That's Rick's show. Whole different
Yes,
show.
that's right. Yes, been there. So the first time you ever had alcohol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? How much did it take to get a physiological effect?
Not much.
Almost immediately.
Right. But the more you did it, what happens?
Takes
Build up
more
a
to get a buzz.
resistance.
The more it takes,
Yeah.
you help alcohol tolerance. And so if you
Yes.
think about insulin resistance, like like insulin tolerance, meaning it takes more and more, the more we abuse that system, the more it takes more and more to get the same physiological effect.
Wow.
So what happens is your pancreas, your blood sugar levels are always, always a little bit high, and your pancreas always has to work a little bit higher to keep them where they're at until sometime your pancreas can't keep up anymore. And then when that pancreas can't keep up anymore with that insulin resistance, then you start to see your blood sugars go up. And the worst thing that happens is at even some, now what we're seeing with the research is that you can actually wear out your pancreas where it gets fatigued, right? And it can't produce what it should anymore. And then when that happens, then things go massively high. Is that making sense?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
So
I love your
when
analogy.
we look at how this is, how like the modern conventional approach to this problem, when you think about it, it's kind of like adding more alcohol to the system, right? To get this to when you stop
buzz.
catching that
Yep.
buzz, they're saying, well, now you need a little bit more, and we're going to do more and more because we're going to give you insulin, or we're going to give you medications that actually make your pancreas work harder to produce more insulin, right? And even and put another stressor on your body. And so one of the things that you often will hear, as soon as people start taking extra insulin, what do you think happens to their weight?
Probably an increase.
It increases because remember, it's an energy storage hormone.
Wow.
Right, so we start driving those numbers up, and it gets harder and harder to get weight off because we're getting more and more insulin resistance. Now, sugar and breads and carbs aren't the only thing that causes insulin resistance, right? 2 hours of sleep, or excuse me, like 2 hours of less sleep than you should be getting a night is enough to increase insulin resistance, right? Stress levels will increase insulin levels. So there's a lot of additional factors. Inflammation, right, increases insulin resistance. And so when we start to look at somebody, and when somebody comes in and one of their goals is to help to move them away from the medication model and to help them to empower them to improve their own immune system, or their own metabolic system, and therefore their immune system, helping them to understand that process is really important.
Sure.
And so that's where we work, and that's where our expertise comes in, is working with these patients and working with their providers to help to move in that other direction.
Sure. Well, let's pop up your website. How could people get a hold of you? Let's.
Yeah. So our website, we're 180healthnow.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and just search 180 Health Solutions. We try to stay active there. I think we're being somewhat shadow banned, but
like
happens.
a lot of businesses.
A lot of businesses are. Anything that doesn't sell pharmaceuticals in the sense.
Or that actually works towards healing.
Right.
So
they don't want to hear that message.
can you explain to our audience, there's a difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely.
And
Correct.
this whole sugar issue.
So let me be
That's a
clear
good
on that
question.
for sure. So the insulin resistant type is typically your type 2. Now there is, when we start to look at that, type 1 is when, due to typically what we're seeing as an autoimmune problem where there's been insults to the body that destroy the pancreas's ability to produce insulin. That's a different thing. And that's you'll typically see when a person is originally diagnosed as a type 1, is that they have a hard time putting on weight, right? Yes. When they're in their teens, they become really thin. And it makes sense once you understand the role of insulin in the body, why they become really thin with high blood sugar levels. Because again, insulin is an energy storage hormone, which makes it really hard for you to store energy and gain weight. So they become really lean, but they have dangerously high blood sugars. But then over time, what typically happens is a lot of times you'll see those same people develop type 2 diabetes on top of type 1.
So that's two separate diseases, in a sense. It doesn't elevate for one to the other.
Correct. Yep. So one's kind of on the.
I never knew that.
One's on the front end. Type 1 is your pancreas isn't producing insulin. Type 2 is typically on the other end, where you are producing insulin, but your body's losing the ability to utilize it like it should.
So what types of things are indicative of causing type 1. Like
we have less than a minute. So.
Yep, I have family members that got it as children. So are we talking injury from vaccination? What are we talking?
There is some correlative research showing insults to the body like vaccination, anything that's going to chronically stimulate the immune system to cause autoimmune problems. We know if you have problems in your digestive system, what we call dysbiosis or leaky gut, that can predispose a person to autoimmune problems as well. So anything that is an insult to the body that creates an overwhelming immune response has the potential to damage that organ. Now, if you take that a few steps farther, when a person develops one autoimmune problem, they typically develop multiple as they go through life.
Wow. Okay, well, we're going to have to take a break again. It just keeps popping up
It's
on us like
fascinating.
that. We'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Beck Communications is hiring. Beck Communications is seeking qualified candidates for plant technicians in our Wheatland, North Dakota location. Beck Communications is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
If you're a Beck Fiber customer or the dependent of a Beck Fiber customer, you might qualify for scholarships. Beck awards scholarships to seniors headed to college or to students attending University of Mary. Go to www.beck.coop for eligibility guidelines and applications.
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Did you know the Foundation for Rural Service awards scholarships for rural students? The scholarships range from $2,500 to $7,000. Go to www.frs.org for information and applications.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We always enjoy having you because you're just a wealth of information. We really appreciate that.
I enjoy being here.
Perfect. Well, you know, Andrea had asked us a couple questions during the break, so we're going to get right to it. Andrea, we're going to throw it to you. What do you want to learn from Dr. Steve?
Yeah, Dr. Steve, you'd mentioned that 90% of the people that have issues don't recognize that they have issues.
Right.
And I think that might be because a lot of the symptoms that you mentioned start out fairly minor. When's the right time to start investigating what seem like minor issues?
Gosh, I would say as soon as possible, right? I mean, obviously, the earlier, and that's one of the things that we try to help people to understand is you don't have to be sick to improve your health, right? Where like you don't have to have outright symptoms to actually start to be proactive and take those different steps. I do testing on myself all the time, right? I don't necessarily have insulin resistance, but we do a number of different testings to make sure that we're functioning as best we can.
Are you talking pricking your finger? I had gestational diabetes, so I know about that.
So that's a whole nother, yeah, that's a moment by moment, that's a moment by moment check. You can use that for sure. There's other tests like hemoglobin A1C, but unless you actually get a blood test, you're not going to know your insulin levels. And that's something that we rarely ever have, anybody has ever had checked. And so one of the things we talk about is more complete testing, right? Testing the big picture. And I don't know exactly why people don't have their insulin levels checked by their primary care practitioner. I think the reason is that there's nothing that they don't have the tools to actually help people to empower them for them to actually start to reverse it. So they don't want to know, right? Once you start putting more insulin into the body, those insulin levels get even higher.
So how do you reverse it if you have the early signs?
Good question. So basically we start removing triggers, right? So and I want to be clear is we're not treating diabetes, right? We're helping people to understand how their body works so that they can start to remove these triggers that lead to it. One of the first things we do is we basically start getting people on what we call a non-inflammatory diet. We give people the right foods to eat, right? And we do specific food allergy testing so that they can find their own triggers of how their immune system actually works and foods that are creating problems for them.
So talk a little bit about that, because when people hear food allergies, I think they're going to think more along the lines of anaphylactic.
An anaphylactic reaction, right.
Specifically, what are you testing
Right, so
for?
we look at two different tests. We use a company called Immunolabs, which is the most thorough one out there. And they look at an IgE, which is an anaphylactic reaction, which when you eat it, your lips puff up. And a lot of people actually have an IgE allergy, or many of them, and don't even know it. I mean, I have an anaphylactic reaction to cauliflower.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was eating it every day, right? And then there's the IgG response, which is more so, it's called a cytotoxic response, and it happens hours to days later. So, so different healthy foods can actually be creating problems for people, where we would otherwise consider them to be healthy, and can be causing a lot of problems. And if we have a lot of inflammation, it creates inflammation, which at the cellular level, if our cells are inflamed, it's harder for your body to use any hormone, much less use insulin. And so that's where the ability for your cells to communicate with the things around it is a lot harder if there's chronic inflammation. So a lot of times that's the first thing we do. We teach people, obviously we kind of take people through a process. And one of the things that I always talk about is I don't recommend anybody stop any medication. There's a reason that your body needs that extra insulin, right? Because they're working to keep you alive. And this is a huge difference between a firefighter approach and a carpenter approach, right? So medicine, they take the approach like a firefighter, right? Meaning let's put a fire. If you have a fire in your house, we need to put it out. We look at the body more as a carpenter, meaning what do we need to do to rebuild your body and restore health? And so, stopping any sort of medication cold turkey is a bad idea, right? And so I don't want to get that wrong idea. It's there for a reason, but once we start to take a different approach, right? Just like using antibiotics when your life is in danger isn't a bad idea, but using them every month because you keep getting sick, we need to start asking different questions, right? And so that's where looking at why is a person's immune system allowing it to get sick all the time, right? So it's kind of one of those things where we need to start to restore health, and then with time, they become less dependent upon these different medications. So we co-manage with their doctors and with their primary care doctors and things like that. So another thing that we use for if it's right for that person, typically for men, a process that we use is called intermittent fasting. So skipping breakfast, getting all those meals within about an 8-hour window. And again, that takes, I don't recommend anybody do it cold turkey, especially if you're taking medication, because it can be kind of tricky. You can't just jump into things like this. And then getting rid of those other triggers. Too much, the carbohydrates, load the sugars, the breads, all these different things, right? And start to remove that and help people along that bridge, because for many people, it's a long journey from where they're at to what's an actual ideal or a good, healthy, holistic lifestyle. And so for a period of time, it's kind of like, let's go back to the alcohol analogy, right? How do you get rid of an alcohol addiction?
Stop drinking it.
Yeah.
It's cold turkey,
yeah,
right?
you got to get rid of it for a period of time, right? And then and then basically when you go back to it, right? You don't have that. You kind of go. It's kind of like you go back to how it was when you started the first time you had that drink ever, where you can have that physiological effect again. So do we say we cut out carbohydrates forever? No, but for periods of time and things like that, there are some specific things that we take people through. I hate to get into it too in depth because I don't want people running home and just trying it, right?
Yes. Right.
Because that's definitely not safe.
Under a supervised diet, basically, if you're trying to get people off of these medications, it needs to be supervised, basically, is what you're trying to say. You don't,
and they
we don't want anyone to go ahead and just do something cold turkey without advice from a medical professional.
Right.
Hey, Dr. Steve, do you do remote consultations?
We absolutely do. Yeah, we do see a lot of people.
You just need to come back home, Andrea. No, he does not do it to Florida. You have to come home.
You can't be the only one who would call him up.
Oh, okay.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we see people all around the state, and I mean all around multiple states, and so for those of you that don't know, Kendi actually she is one of the main people in our office and helps to make everything run amazingly well. And
thank you. Yeah,
we have an awesome
it's
team.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The clinic is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So check him out on 180 Health. But that's fantastic. You know, we're not quite ready for our break right now, but we do have another segment. Do you think you have enough information you want to share on another segment?
I could talk all day. So.
I think we'll keep them around because
want
we've heard about the South Dakota Attorney General, and that is changing hourly. A couple big things have come up, so we're going to skip that. We're going to save it for next week. But because this is so fascinating, and I was wondering too, you know, because it was kind of, we talked about COVID, and this is a comorbidity with COVID, and people don't do as well when they have diabetes.
Right.
But are you seeing any difference? Because say people are wearing a mask, and so just with the carbon, is it dioxide that you're breathing back in? You're not
rebreathing air.
You're rebreathing it, and then you're not as healthy. Will that affect your immune system in the sense where even your how does that function with the body?
It's interesting. Well, there's very little, there's not a ton of actual valid research out there to say it's safe, number one, right? What we do know is that in a lot of the world of industry, they've done some research on N95 masks and things like that, and they show within 5 minutes of wearing a mask, it increases your stress response significantly. And we know there's plenty of science that shows that increased stress response makes you more susceptible to upper respiratory infections.
Sure.
And so there's that, I mean, depending on how many different rabbit trails that you want to go down, there is at least as good of an argument that masks are more detrimental to society than they are beneficial. We can't just keep focusing on just the virus, right? What about the psychological effects? What about the, there's so many, the ability to learn the social effects of masking, right? Many people just put a mask on, they get anxiety. What's that doing to stress physiology, right? It creates that increased epidemic of sickness. If a person's lungs aren't healthy, right? Continually wearing a mask all day long, if they have, and it'd be interesting to see what like a biologic dentist would say about chronic mask wearing and where their position would be on the bacterial flora, the mouth, and that sort of thing.
I know you know Dr. Brad Roschow. In fact, you worked with him in your early days.
Yeah.
I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he said, well, let's see what your jaw's up to. So he puts his hands, he goes, you don't wear a mask, do you? I said, no, I don't. And he goes, I can tell he has a lot of TMJ patients coming in because of mask wearing.
Well, that, and there's also, if you look at a lot of people, like the acne and things, it definitely changes the flora, right? And when we change the flora of our skin is one of our main barriers to keep things from getting in that shouldn't be getting in, right?
You don't understand that. Your skin is your largest organ. It's an organ.
Yep. Your skin and your GI system are your major barriers that keep things from getting in that shouldn't be. And if we're breaking those down and injuring them, it can set us up for all sorts of different problems.
Certainly. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to ask you to stay one more segment and entertain us with your vast knowledge.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on VAC.
Howdy folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spool-rattling power with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Yeah, shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Did you know the Foundation for Rural Service awards scholarships for rural students? The scholarships range from $2,500 to $7,000. Go to www.frs.org for information and applications. If you're a Beck Fiber customer or the dependent of a Beck Fiber customer, you might qualify for scholarships. Beck awards scholarships to seniors headed to college or to students attending University of Mary. Go to www.beck.coop for eligibility guidelines and applications.
Welcome back to Ladies Up, another view on Beck. We're visiting with Dr. Steve Nagel with 180 Health Solutions and learning all kinds of stuff about technically, or I guess we're about diabetes for the most part.
Or insulin resistance,
yeah. Insulin resistance, absolutely. And Andrea, you had another question that you had posed during the break. What would you like to learn?
Sure. So my question is, if it feels like diet is so often a matter of will and overcoming our own desires for X, Y, or Z, do you have any tips for managing those almost cravings?
Well, that's a loaded question. I mean, and I mean, it truly is. And it can come from so many different areas. And I know Jan's a health coach. I know she works with that. We have our own health coach in our office as well, Carson, who does an amazing job in taking people across that bridge, right? Helping people to, and so there's a number of different factors that go into that, right? There's the physiological food cravings, right? There's a couple of hormones in the body called ghrelin and leptin. If we think about leptin is the hormone that tells you when you're full or satiated, right? And what can happen, just like we have insulin tolerance, we can have leptin tolerance. And that's something we actually test in our office too, is to check our leptin levels, because if those levels are high, just like if our insulin levels are high, we can predict that you're probably gonna have a lot of food cravings and it's gonna be hard for you. But using different, and one of the things one of the great advantages of the intermittent fasting is it helps to lower leptin levels, again, in the right person. There are some people that if their cortisol levels or stress levels are really high, that fasting can actually make their food cravings worse because of how cortisol is in the body. So we just have to be careful with that, and the intermittent fasting isn't right for everybody. Pretty much most males will do great with it, but women, obviously, as you know.
Is that just eating kind of normal all week and then fasting for one day. What is
intermittent fasting? I'm sorry, I didn't even explain that. Yeah. So basically, we teach people to fit all their meals within about a 6 to 8 hour window. And for women, maybe we'll go 12 hours, a little bit longer, but basically not eating, going a period of time without eating, right? It helps the body to use up those extra glucose stores or glycogen stores, gets rid of the glycogen in the liver and that sort of thing, which ultimately helps that person to get back into that fat-burning metabolism.
Okay, and earlier you had said about skipping breakfast, but some people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
My husband started eating oatmeal because he thought he was gonna, lose some weight, and the oatmeal wasn't doing the trick.
No, it won't, because it'll spike your insulin levels first thing in the morning. Yeah. Worst thing you can do is to have a banana or a carbohydrate first thing in the morning. Worst thing you can do. And so, but it's interesting, like where the breakfast is the first. You guys want to hear a story?
We would love to. That's why we have you
breakfast
here.
being the most important meal of the day. So this actually happened back in, I forget which religion it was, but it was the brother of a pastor. And they had decided that eating spicy foods was like heathenistic, right? And because what they thought was that it created sexual appetite in people.
Ooh.
Sure.
And so they came up with this idea that, hey, we should feed people bland, like spicy, they said spicy foods made people more sexually active, right? And so we need a bland food. And so this was, so the pastor's brother came up with Kellogg's cornflakes, right? Which are basically taste-free and bland, even though people put a boatload of sugar in them anyways.
Right.
And so that's where, and then that next step was tell people that let's sell more cornflakes. Let's start teaching people that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Wow. See, and I'm hungry. My best meal, I would love to eat about 10 o'clock. I am not a breakfast person.
In the morning?
Yeah, about 10, 11 o'clock would be perfect for me. But, you're told that you should eat breakfast. It's so healthy for you,
I was told that too, yeah,
was too.
my whole entire life. And now my first meal is usually around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mine too. Well, I usually eat, 12:30 or 1.
Okay, so now you ladies have both had some success stories doing this plan, and we hadn't planned on going down this road, but...
Well, I know, and I didn't fully answer Andrea's question either. That was just one piece of it, right? The hormone aspect. But then there's obviously if we don't have 100% certainty as to what we should be doing, that's really confusing too, because it's easy to falter and it's easy to get off course. And so, like, having certainty for people, and that's one of the things that a health coach can help with is this is absolutely what you should be doing, right? To give them structure, right? If a person doesn't have structure to make changes, that's really frustrating for people. A lot of people have never meal planned, so it's overwhelming because you need to learn a new skill too. And if you're on your own trying to learn a new skill, it's like trying to teach yourself how to learn the guitar, right?
Yes.
And so having a mentor, having someone to help you, here's how you meal plan, here's how you do it when you travel. Like there's all these pitfalls, right? What to do when we're emotional, right? Healthy exchanges, right? When we're like, well, I'm stressed out, so I want some chocolate, right? Well, we can have chocolate, but we just have to do it in a healthy way, right? There's exchanges that we can do to create a healthy avocado chocolate mousse, right? Where it tastes great, and it's a great sort of option instead of having the actual chocolate mousse, which is very bad. We were talking before about the McDonald's
Shamrock Shake.
The Shamrock Shake. How many?
93 grams of sugar.
93 grams of sugar.
Wow.
That's more than 3 times what you should have in a day.
So if we take that recipe and mimic it with something with some really good healthy fats that has really rich flavoring, doesn't spike blood sugar levels, and switch that out into something that can actually be very good for you. I love like a bulletproof coffee, which kind of tastes like a latte, but it doesn't have the sugar in it, right? We put some healthy fats in it, some healthy coconut fat, some healthy butter fat, that sort of thing, and it gives it a really rich flavoring to my coffee, and I don't have that insulin spike in the morning.
But there are some other things that kind of impact that as well. There's some folks that have kind of an emotional attachment to food.
Yes.
And finding out their history and a little bit of why.
Absolutely.
And you kind of need to have a why if you're going to go on this journey. You can't do it because Dr. Steve said so on TV.
Right.
You have to have something within you that says, I don't want to be where I am, and I'm going to do what it takes to get where I want to go.
Right. So that motivation to change, right? And that's one of the beautiful parts about our testing too, is we can show people on paper, look, this is what your body's doing, and this is the implications if you don't do something, right? And then we ask the question, what do you want your life to look like in 5 or 10 years? What do you think your life is going to look like in 5 or 10 years if you do it, or if you don't do it, right? If we don't get this handled, what are the long-term implications of being a diabetic, even when it's well controlled?
Yeah. So what is, we only have a couple minutes left of this segment, but when people are dieting, it seems like they reach a plateau. What causes a person to plateau?
You name it. There's all sorts of different roadblocks, and that's kind of one of the things is it's impossible to really know unless, and that's where we look at it as a process, right? If we need to do some additional testing, if you have problems in your digestive tract, it's going to create inflammation, which will definitely cause plateau. If you have different hormone depletion, that will cause a plateau. If your adipose tissue or your fat tissue will actually hold on, helps you to make estrogen. So if your other organs aren't making estrogen for you, your body's going to hold on to that fat tissue so that it can actually produce estrogen. So there's a lot of different, that cellular inflammation that we talked about can inhibit that weight loss process as well. And so, we choose to help the people to understand why they have the extra inflammation instead of just doing like a bunch of supplements and things just to drive down inflammation. And obviously we use supplementation to help to assist that process and to support the body as needed. But there's multiple different reasons why people plateau.
So in 30 seconds or less, give us top 3 things to do to get healthier with our insulin.
Right. Okay. So you can again get rid of the inflammatory foods in your life. Right.
Sugars and
just get them out
carbs.
of the house. Period. Right. And then your sugars, your breads, your carbohydrates, processed food, pretty much all your processed junk. Eat real food in the form that nature intended it to be eaten. And then don't stress out.
Oh dear.
Right? Start managing the stress in your life appropriately.
But I thought we're not supposed to drink either, though. There's always a catch. I can't have coffee. I can't drink.
Well, you can do coffee.
Okay, I'll do coffee.
And those are probably the biggest 2 things right off the top of my head.
Sure.
Right? Removing and making sure that you're not polluting your body.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being here today, as always, and we hope you come back. But we're going to have to take a break on Ladies of Another View on Back.
Thanks for having me.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with 1 truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make 1 call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. It's always fun to have medical professionals on our show.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
we so informative.
Yeah,
I learned a lot.
We learn so much all the time, and we're hoping that all of you out there are learning as much as us. And if there's ever a topic that you want to learn more about, let us know. We'd love to get that topic on the show.
For sure.
All right, so this is a special day for someone in our studio. Mark Thusen, he's one of the producers here that helps us get to where you are. It's his grandparents' 70th wedding anniversary.
Oh, so awesome.
Isn't that great?
That's so cool.
We have
Congratulations
a photo of
to them.
Yes, this is a photo taken in the 50s of Richard. Richard's name, or his nickname is Jiggs, and Shirley Thusen, or Tucson, I'm sorry. That's Sherman.
Sherman.
It's the Tusons, Richard and Shirley Tucson. Anyway, we're so excited about, that we're able to go ahead and share that. But 70 years, I mean, can you imagine?
Happy anniversary.
We should have gotten Mark in here.
Yeah.
Yes, we should have. Yes.
That's awesome, though. Congratulations.
Absolutely. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about Feedback Friday. We get a lot of feedback, whether it's on our Facebook page, people send us messages, emails, all kinds of ways to interact, and just some very, very lovely messages. I want to show you the first one is, we're going to start out with the worst one, okay? We want to share. Some people don't care for us. But it says, real news from real people. I'm going to ask my provider why they are having a show full of angry brown shirt women spreading vile crap on TV I pay for.
Wow.
And so I just said, hey, we have other programs on Beck. Beck wants to go ahead and get information out to anybody. And if you don't care for this show, down the road with Joel might be a better fit. And so we just let them know, and they never responded. But a lot of times we'll ask them if they want to come on. So I just wanted to put that out there. We don't want to say that we are, that everybody loves us. We know they don't.
Of course
because
not.
We are sharing information that a lot of people have never heard.
Yeah.
We get 99.9% of the people, our viewers out there, absolutely love us, and we appreciate that.
And I haven't worn a brown shirt yet. Just
I know,
gotta
nor
say.
have I. It's not my
I
color.
just don't look good in brown.
Yeah.
So the other one is, what's everybody doing for the 1-year anniversary of 14 days to flatten the curve? Asking for a friend.
Love it.
Celebrating St. Patrick's Day, probably.
Right. Oh, and here's another one. This was, I really enjoyed Dr. Brooke Miller. I'm trying to get more people to watch your program. I have what seems like a dumb topic that perhaps you covered before, but I just retired and now watched your show. Anyway, that was about, she wanted to know about farming information, about ranching, farming and ranching. So we are absolutely open to every topic.
That's cool.
But getting back to Dr. Brooke, we received just a ton of emails and texts regarding Dr. Brooke Miller. And he said he would love to come back anytime.
It was a good interview.
Yeah,
He was. Yeah. All right, so the next one, I'm loving the segment today on weather. How refreshing to hear weather honestly explained. Pros and cons. I'm enjoying sincerely someone taking the time to tell us the benefits of our weather pattern and not all the doom and gloom. Thank you, thank you. This is so interesting. I love it. Please tell me his name again, and does he have a website?
Yeah.
Well, I did respond to that person.
Mike McGuire.
Yes.
Mike McGuire. And
I remember that interview too. It was so good.
Yeah, and he's been on a couple times too.
Yeah,
because and it's so informative to people nowadays.
Yep. Yeah, well, it's good to hear another side of the story. You know, we're just fed so much of the doom and gloom message, and it's interesting to hear another perspective.
He also debunked a couple of the conspiracy theories out there.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Well, even with Dr. Steve today, you know, his message goes totally contrary to what we hear, and it's refreshing. It's a message of hope.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and we hope that you guys feel the same way in that sense, where that you're getting information that you want to hear and that you're not getting somewhere else. And that's why we say real people, real news. And we're just going to keep doing that. And we just want to keep it up. But if you want to hear other things, let us know what that might be.
Yes. There's so many ways to contact us now, too. I mean, almost any social media platform that's out there. You can text us, you can email us, you can call.
Yes.
There's all kinds of ways.
Our Facebook page, we've reached almost 100,000 people in the last 30 days.
That's amazing.
So anyway, this is kind of the time for our final thoughts. We're going to go right to Andrea in Florida. What's your final thought, Andrea?
Look for something new to learn today. I learned a lot, so I'm glad we had Dr. Steve on.
That's perfect.
I'm looking forward to the weekend. I don't know about you.
Yes.
I'm always happy to learn more, and I am sharing it with my family, so they're all getting healthy too.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so on the same theme as learning, one of my bucket list items is to learn how to ski. So I'm going tomorrow to learn. I had a friend say, you better get Aflac insurance. So if something happens, you still have an income.
So are we going to Huff Hills, or are we going someplace a little further?
I'm going to South Dakota.
Nice.
Yes, I'm really excited.
Oh, you're going to love it.
Yes.
Yeah, the Black
Good
Hills.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Black Hills this time of year they usually get fresh snow. It's beautiful if you're going in the Deadwood area.
Yes, we are. I'm so excited.
Perfect.
Be a blast.
Yeah, perfect. I guess, my final thoughts would be, we're starting to calve. We got about 3 or 4 on the ground.
Oh.
And it's always such a fun time of year. Absolutely. It's just the birth of new life.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
And some, maybe we should have a show out at the ranch one day.
That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
We should.
Wouldn't you love it?
Yes.
I want to dress in Mary's clothes.
There you
if we
go.
come.
We can do that. We can go into the closet.
Yes.
I need some cowboy boots.
We can get you some. Anyway, we're glad that you joined us today, as always, and thanks for joining us this entire week. And we'll be back next week with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Good night. Goodbye.